Welcome to Pitch Slapped. I'm Dan. This is Stefen. This is our show. You know us. You love us, maybe. Today, we are going to hear a story idea from Stefen. So without further ado, Stefen, take it away. Tell us what you're going to talk about.
All right. So, this story I have today, right, is something I've worked on since maybe I was 13 or so, roughly. But it's a mixture of two things I've heard. So, one, when I was a kid, perhaps many of you out there, right, you went to summer camp, right? So our parents worked for the Y, so naturally most summers we went to a Y summer camp. Well, I think it was either Wilder or Weber. I can't be entirely sure which one it was. Damn W's. But one counselor, right, when we would go swimming, because they had a lake, they had you a swim test, right? So to see how strong or good of a swimmer you were, there were certain lengths you could go, right? One was like from the shore to a buoy, which was like the shallow end essentially because it's not a pool, and then it was from another one was like the next like length, right? Like the same amount of length from the shore to that buoy. It was that buoy, then to another buoy, and then there was one like the expert level. So it was like guppy, pollywog, and I don't know, shark or something, or mermaid, one or the other. But anyway, he would say, like, look, don't go past the farthest buoy or the drain will get you. And upon asking what the drain is this alligator that lived in this, like overflow pipe, right? You see it, they have specific areas of land that are fenced off where rainwater just goes, and it goes down this pipe, and then that pipe brings it to, like, a lake, river, pond, puddle, etc., what have you. I'm sure there's more terms for that I'm not aware of. But anyway, he said this alligator lived in there and would eat campers who ventured too far. And of course, I was scared of Jaws, so I rarely went past the buoys, let alone, the mermaid expert level. So that was pretty cool. It's something that always stuck in the back of my head. The other thing that it kind of ties to is exotic animal trades, right? Which is something that's very real, as we've seen through this pandemic with Joe Exotic and Tiger King, with people wanting tigers. Well, my dad, growing up in Westfield, you would think Westfield, nothing really crazy. Well, he had a pet monkey for like a couple minutes, but then it threw poop at our grandma, so they got rid of it. And by get rid of it, I think my uncle took it, and I don't know what happened to it after that. So hopefully nothing bad. But anyway, he had a pet monkey, right? And his cousin, he had a pet alligator he kept in a kiddie pool of his basement, right? But what my dad would say was, as crazy as it was seeing an alligator in his cousin's basement, right, when he slept over, was kids would get this. Now, his cousin was older than him, right? So it wasn't like he was a little kid and was like, I can't take care of this. I don't know what happened to that alligator either. But in most cases, they'd get too big, right? It was kind of scary. They could hurt you. So people would flush them down the toilet or drive them out in the woods and just let them go, right? And then you always hear, like, people are like, there are alligators or crocodiles in the streets of New York, right? They've even made a movie called Alligator about an alligator underneath the streets of New York with Robert Foster back in, I think the 70s or early 80s. So there's another tidbit of, inspiration right there. So essentially, I just fleshed out the campfire or camp ghost story, right, that my counselor told me. So drain is about, case in point, an alligator that is flushed down the toilet, right, and ends up in like a toxic waste depository, right? Or like this company is dumping toxic waste illegally, like in the film The Host, right? Where it mutates the alligator, it gets bigger than it is, possibly has like some, cooler features, like maybe a frill or like two sets of eyes or something that makes it like just a little bit different. So So that's one possible origin. The other one I was looking at was like people were picketing a zoo, right? Like picture like hippies and animal rights activists. They're picketing like at a zoo, right? Because the zoo was found out to like be selling animals to the black market, and then like someone breaks in the zoo and releases the animals, and like we follow this baby alligator as it like is crawling and it falls down the sewer drain, and you see it just go like water pushing it in and out from one pipe to the next till it's like launched into this lake, right? Where of course chemicals are being dumped. So that kind of thing is the same idea. So it's either one of those two origins. I have written it both ways. I've also written this as a script, right? I originally wanted to make this a movie. I still would like to make it a movie, but I don't have an alligator suit or, you know, CGI special effects to do so. But it's something I think would be really cool as a movie. So anyway, the idea is, right, it followed this alligator for a little while. It'd be just like Animal Planet, where we watch the alligator grow, right, and what it does over the years in the off season. And then, like, it lives in like the sewers during like the winter and the cold months, and in the summertime it comes out of that drain and lives in like the lake or the pond or whatever reservoir, whatever it's near. Now the idea is the land around that lake, right, gets purchased to become a summer camp, right, like a stayover camp. So then naturally we also have like, I would like the cast of Stranger Things to just be some of the camp kids. So we see like, summer loves, friendship, bullies, right? That whole coming of age thing mixed with like an alligator murdering people, right? And then, as this alligator is murdering people and like the kids are slowly interacting with the alligator, right? The detective finds a dead body. Not a kid yet, right? But maybe like a homeless person or a maintenance person who was in the sewer or near the lake or something, right? Because in the summertime, people like to go hiking, camping, right? To kind of get away from it all, especially like couples, groups of friends, that kind of thing. So the idea is it focuses on this maintenance worker and this detective who's on this case. It doesn't necessarily have to be detective, maybe small town cop who's trying to crack this case, right? Like he maybe was a city cop and now he just rides like this easy beat and it's like, I'm still a good cop, let me solve this, right? Because no one else really cares, right? So, and I like Ethan Hawke, I think would play a good like grizzled cop, right? And I think Aldous Hodge would be a cool like I don't want to say foil, but like someone who's like a wise ass, but also serious as the maintenance worker. I also think the roles could work interchangeably, where Aldous Hodge plays like a rookie cop trying to make a name for himself, and Ethan Hawke plays like this like small town maintenance worker. Actually, I like it that way better, right? And they have to work together, navigate the sewer, save the camp, ultimately defeat the monster alligator that's eating people and terrorizing. And ultimately what happens is, it ends with them defeating the alligator, but like they don't find the nest, right? It ends with the idea of a nest, and it hatching, right? So it leaves room for a sequel. So, or also the idea like maybe there's another alligator in there with it. Maybe not a nest, but it just shows like another alligator, watching like them drag the male gator out of the lake to get rid of it, right? So like it just sees it. Something like that per se for the ending. But it's definitely been put on the back burner a lot, but it's a story I would really, really love to write. Some clear inspirations for me doing this was Lake Placid. That's a movie I really love and I think is underrated. Jaws, Friday the 13th, that kind of deal. I know I listed like Aldous Hodge and Ethan Hawke. I think Matt Reeves would and the kids from Stranger Things. I think Matt Reeves would do a good job with this. I think the Duffer Brothers, if they wanted to jump into a creature feature, right? I think they would do a good job with this too. But yeah, that's what I got for Drain.
That's really fun stuff. That's a fun concept. Down to like the core inspiration of it being like a mix between your own experience at summer camp and your family's history with trafficking exotic animals, or trading and not
acquiring.
acquiring, which I have some questions.
Fair.
Yeah. What was the monkey's name?
Oh, the monkey's name. I don't know. I think like literally right as my dad tells this our dad tells the story, he was like, "Yeah, when I was younger, like my uncle Jack or my great uncle Jack rather, and my grandfather would trade like knickknacks and stuff, right? So they would trade stuff, and then he had a monkey, like a spider monkey or something. I don't know how he got that. And he traded it to my grandfather, but then like the monkey pooped in its hand and threw it at our grandma, and then the monkey was gone. As, as in like he took it back, and then I don't know any more about the monkey.
We don't speak about the monkey.
Yeah,
Well, it sounds like a fun Thanksgiving story. Something to share over the holidays.
definitely.
Remember that time when when we had a monkey for a minute?
Yeah, for a hot minute they had a monkey.
Well, anyway, back to the story stuff. I It sounds like a fun idea. I was getting Jaws vibes from it, especially when it gets to like the summer camp aspect of it. I was getting a lot of like those campy like creature in the Black Lagoon sort of thing, you know. Uh, so that's cool. I don't know like what kind of tone you're striving for. It sounds like with all of the like the Stranger Things like aspects of it, it sounds like it's sort of a fun adventure. But also with Matt Reeves behind the camera, I think that's an interesting choice because I've only seen kind of like serious films by Matt Reeves. So I think like he will bring sort of a seriousness to the story. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like
Yeah,
exactly. I think like that whole idea like I think there can be humor in the idea of like, oh hey man, like a group of kids, right? But at the same time you mentioned like a seriousness where it's like, no, look, this is for real. At this moment it is serious, right? They are trying to, you know, uh make new friends, meet girls, right? Have some adventures for themselves, but also like the things around them, right? The problems, the alligator per se is just as big a character as these kids. Realistically, the alligator is the show, right? It's the focus. These guys are side pieces, right? They're just there to make this spectacle like seem that more believable.
yeah.
Um, so I guess it's just like trying to weave more of a story around like just this thing that's eating people. You know
In
what I
that
mean?
way, it kind of reminds me of like Godzilla. I don't know, like I vote like especially the recent Godzilla films. Like it's not really about the people, it's more about the monster. You know what I mean? It's more
Yeah,
about Godzilla. So they like kind of created like this world around Godzilla. Like, oh my god, look at all these people that Godzilla's affecting. You know what I mean? So that's what it sounds like you're trying to do in a way. Like the alligator is the main attraction, is the star, is going to get his close up, and the rest of them are just sort of like you know, the set piece. So
exactly. Exactly. That's how I envisioned it, right? They're there to just try and make him look good, right? To make him look scarier, to kind of put you in those shoes, if possible. Even if it's just like not a movie, even though like I like it to be one. Even it's just reading, right? So it's like, oh, okay, like I felt that fear, with some of the scenes per se. And I'm sorry I don't have um, the right wording for it,
no.
but no, I think there's room for it where it's like it talks about like the alligator gazing at them, but like then it not to say you can't apply like film dialogue to stories, but like then it cuts to just like what the kids are talking about, right? But it's
Mm-hmm.
seen from this monster's point of view, watching them, studying them, right? And then as they move, the alligator moves, right? It like goes to something different, and that's how it pans away from that storyline. Um,
Yeah.
so as it weaves in and out of their lives, and they weave in and out of its life, that's something I aspire to do. Whether it's gonna be executed perfectly, that's another thing. But
It sounds like a cool point of view, staying with the alligator. I have a question about like the battle between the cop and maintenance guy that they try to like take down the alligator. Uh, I guess like I kind of feel bad for the alligator now
Mm,
that like we're seeing the whole story from its point of view. You know what I mean? Like if if these guys like come in and they like destroy it. So I'm just wondering like um, your thoughts on that. Like, do you feel bad for the alligator? Not I, and you also set it up so like there's a possible continuation of the story as well. So it's not strictly with the alligator towards the end, but I don't know. The way you framed the point of view, I'm like, oh, now I feel bad for the alligator. You know what I mean? So, your thoughts, any feelings about that?
no, that's a good question. I think you can look at it a couple different ways, right? If you read into it one way, it's like a commentary on like, oh, hey, man did this to the alligator, right? It didn't ask to be flushed down the toilet. It didn't ask to be released from its pen. It didn't ask to be taken out of its original environment in like the Everglades or wherever alligators are from, right? So here it is in these like extreme circumstances, which it didn't ask to be in or naturally occur in, and once again, it's being yanked out of this place it's been making its home at, and we're killing it for mistakes that we made, right? So there's that idea of looking at it. So I think if we're looking at it from that perspective, then yeah, right? Like I feel bad for the alligator, and I guess intellectually I probably should write it from that way to have more of like a meaning. But I was just like, yo, man, I want to do for Jaw, for I want to do what Spielberg did with Jaws with sharks, but for alligators, right? Kind of like the hippo story I wrote in college. It's like that's what I want to see, So I guess yeah, I have a soft spot for monsters just because it's like maybe they didn't ask to be monsters. It's just kind of what they are. Guillermo del Toro talks about that a lot in some YouTube video or interview, and I thought that was pretty cool. But no, those aren't my like. Those are cool words, and like I like to think about it. But originally, Dan, I was just thinking I want to see an alligator eat some people, and somehow, right? Maybe, hopefully, believable. Like the alligator loses in the end.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. I feel it. I feel
Smarter.
like
Go ahead.
if you wanna make this, I know you were like I don't have an alligator costume or special effects, but let's get a puppet. Let's invest in a puppet.
I would be down with that. Just seeing the puppet just
Yeah,
Yeah, man. No, I'd be totally down with that.
like a full-sized puppet. You know what I mean? Like we need to build this from scratch. Like it's gonna have the double eyes. You know what I mean? It's gonna be like all mutated. It's gonna be huge. It's gonna cost a lot of money, so I'm not expecting it to be cheap, but we could do it.
No, definitely. Definitely. I guess another medium, right, if the puppet doesn't work out, is like, I could see it being like a comic book. Like a one off kind of thing. It's not like a continuous series. It's just like, hey, look, here's the story beginning to end. That's
Yeah.
it. You know?
Hmm.
But no, I like the idea of a puppet. I like the idea of it being something people can kind of sit down and read like in one sitting, right? Not well, I mean, you say one sitting, but realistically time is crazy, so probably maybe one or two. But um yeah, no, if it has a little bit of heart, a little bit of humor, and everything like that makes a monster movie relatively good, when on a page, I'd be very satisfied with that. But I wish I remembered that counselor's name, but it was such a cool thing to be like, oh yeah, man, you don't know about the drain? Like you can't be swimming out past the buoys, right? Because it'll eat you, it'll get you. And it was just like something you heard kids ask him to say again and again, right? Like, wait, what's out there? What's that thing called?
Yeah, I that was one thing I loved in your telling of it too, and I hope if you do end up making this a thing that you literally just pluck that dialogue, that like scenario that you went through and just like put it on the page because it's I don't know, it's fun. it's fun. It feels real, honest. You know, and it sets up a mystery.
Yeah,
So
no, exactly. So like I mean the other way of thinking about it, right? You could have it already be like the camp story, right? Where it's like, "Oh, the drain will get you." And like he doesn't really believe the legend, right? But he's telling the kids it, and then that's when some crazy shit starts happening, right? That's when people start going missing from the camp, and it's like, "Oh, the drain is going to get you." So that could be, another way of framing, not framing, but of doing it. Um, I got to think which way I want it to really go.
yeah. Or how about like you could even do like a flashback scene, like be like, in the present, somebody's like about to go past that point of no return and is like, I need to tell you guys a story about the, about the drain, to kind of like flashbacks, to like what happened like 20 years prior. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, like when someone at that camp is talking about like this whole ordeal, and then that's when the second alligator could pop out and eat the dude or some shit like that.
there we go. That's your end. That's the bookend.
Yeah, man, that's genius.
I don't know about genius, but I'm glad it gave you some inspiration.
No, I like that a lot. So you tell it as a story, then second alligator pops up and eats him.
And maybe the person who's telling the story was like one of the kids who was like part of the original story. You know what I mean? Like in the
Yeah.
past, like 20 years older, and he's still like a camp counselor. He's like the director of the camp.
Was one of the kids. Dealt with the drain. No, that's awesome.
Yeah, just some ideas to play around with. You have a lot of ideas to work with, so
No, but
you have no shortage.
that's a good ending though. You know what I mean? Like it fits with like the whole idea of like, hey, it's like a story also within a story, but it also leaves the door open to possibly more. And I feel like it touches on something like they do in like 80s movies, right? Where it's like, oh hey, here's this thing that's happening. Then they cut to present time, and then like in Friday the 13th, when Jason pops out of the lake and grabs the girl, right? Like the end of Friday the 13th. It's just kind of like that's perfect,
Yeah,
man. It's perfect.
there you go.
Well, thank you very much. That's awesome, Dan.
Yeah, you're very welcome. I'm glad to contribute somehow.
No, dude, definitely. But so definitely, be careful what you flush down the drain.
Might bite you in the ass.
But no, man, I appreciate you listening, and I appreciate you guys who tuned in. I appreciate you guys listening and checking it out. And as this comes together, right, I'll make sure I share what's happening with that.
Yeah. So I guess that's the end of our episode. Is this the end?
I guess this would be a good end point
Okay.
for Drain. And clearly, I have a couple things I got to play around with, but yeah, I think that's a nice bow on this one.
Okay, my friends, you just got pitch slapped. Join us next time for another fun episode.
Stay gold.